Brown, Mysteries. Adventures in excitement and suspense, based on the best-selling novels by the slick storytelling sensation, Carter Brown.
How do you do, ladies and gentlemen? This is Carter Brown to bring you another of my books, a story called Crime for a King, in which a private detective, Roger King, is embroiled in a batch of bewildering events. Normally a private eye knows all about his assignment, but in this case our hero is in the dark, which naturally enough makes it hard for him to see where he's going. But he can tell it better than I can, so I'll hand over to Roger King.
There was an east wind driving past the car. Behind the wheel of the Dodge, I had to pull up my coat collar. I lit another cigarette and kept my eyes on the road and the car in front of me. The car which contained Miss Elise St. Chris, whom it was my job to follow. About 3/4 of an hour out of town, the road swung round in a bend. When I came round it, I saw the Packard had pulled into the side of the concrete, and a hefty character in chauffeur's uniform waved me to a stop. I wound the window down as he approached.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Miss St. Chris would like to speak to you.
And who is Miss St. Chris?
My dear sir, if you have not been following us for the last 25 miles, it must be my mistake. Just drive on and forget it. But if I am right, then you know who she is, and we can forget the pretenses.
Okay, fair enough. I'll have a word with the lady. Good evening.
Hello. You are the private detective, I presume.
Snooper is probably the word you're looking for.
Who do you snoop for?
Around this time of the year, Santa Claus. Now, what are you expecting in your stocking, apart from a luscious limb?
Is wit a necessary accompaniment of your profession?
Oh, not really. We throw it in as an extra.
You have not answered my question.
I have a client who pays good dough for me to trail you. Why should I tell you his name?
Because I am curious. Because I don't like being followed around.
That's too bad.
I don't think I like your attitude. You look like becoming a nuisance.
Oh, you'll get used to me after a while. Hey, let's ride in your car and save the juice in mine, huh? What do you say?
I say that you begin to bore me. Johnny?
Of course.
Hey, what?
Too late, my friend.
Oh. Something belonging to the chauffeur, probably his fist, came across my head, and I lost interest in the proceedings. When I came round, I was sitting behind the wheel of my car with a headache and without the ignition key. The hulking chauffeur must have tossed it in the bushes. But I'd been caught that way before, and I kept a spare in the glove box. As I drove back in the direction of the city, which contained my apartment, which contained my bed, which would contain me as soon as I could get to it, the only thought in my mind was that my client wouldn't be happy about this. It was about 3 in the morning when I was climbing gratefully into the sheets, when suddenly... Roger King.
So glad you got home safely. Did you walk?
No, I cut a hole in the floorboards of the car and pedaled it home.
It's nice to know that you have not lost that quaint sense of humor.
That smack on the cranium has improved it. Tell that chauffeur of yours that next time we meet, I'll try and do the same thing for him.
Would that be wise? After all, he is so much bigger than you.
How did you get my name and phone number?
I would have thought that you could have deduced that. You were unconscious, weren't you? And in your pocket was your wallet, wasn't it?
Uh-huh. Tell me, is there any point to this conversation, or you just like talking to me?
I don't like talking to you at all, Mr. King, but this once it is necessary. You received very mild treatment tonight. Next time it could be much, much nastier.
Are you threatening me, my elegant Elise? I can hardly hold the receiver. I'm trembling so badly.
Very funny. This is my last warning, King. Find something else to do, and tell whoever has employed you why. Otherwise, you might wake up one morning and find yourself dead.
Well, well. Now, just what the devil can all that mean? I arose refreshed but resentful, and I had an idea that my client, Mr. Polvey, was going to be resentful, too. It was about 10 o'clock when I presented myself at the offices of Overseas Enterprises Incorporated and asked the pulsating platinum blonde secretary to announce me.
Come in, King. Well, have you anything to report this morning?
In a short word, no.
What do you mean by that?
I followed her car, then I was hailed by a chauffeur. She made it clear she didn't like being followed. The chauffeur made it even clearer by slugging me over the skull. When I came to, they and their car had gone.
So you don't know where she went?
You're right on the ball this morning.
See here, King, I'm not paying you for rudeness. I'm paying you for results, of which I appear to receive none.
Just remember that it's one thing to trail someone who's using the subway, but quite another thing to trail someone who travels in a chauffeur-driven Packard.
That was your problem, and you don't seem to have tackled it very competently. I shall have to find someone who can carry out an assignment without falling down on it.
Does that mean I'm fired?
In a short word, yes.
Well, it doesn't exactly come as a surprise. How about my dough?
I shall have my secretary draw you a check. $150 covers it, I think. A lot of money to pay for nothing.
But you're not paying me for nothing, Polby. You're paying for the privilege of discharging me. There was a restaurant on the ground floor of the building, and so I decided to step in for a cup of coffee. I'd hardly taken my first sip when a familiar, creamy voice fell on my ears.
Do you mind if I share your table?
Well, well, Miss St. Creets herself. And what are you doing here?
Asking if I can share your table.
Well, it's a free country, or so the rumor goes.
How was Mr. Polvey this morning?
Not very happy. He fired me. He thought private eyes should all have steel skulls, and because I hadn't got one, I must be masquerading under false pretenses.
That's too bad, Mr. King.
Oh, stop it. Your sympathy unmans me. In a minute, I'll be weeping salt tears into my good cup of coffee.
I'm glad you didn't have to walk home.
Now, that's past history. Now, if I was still working for Polvey, I should be worried about letting you trail me to his office. But as I am now unemployed, I couldn't care less.
I wonder why Polvey had me followed.
Does that wad of dough you've just dropped casually on the table wonder, too?
Yes, you could say it does.
Much as I hate to pass up the chance of some folding money, I don't know. All I know is that Polvey hired me to follow you. He didn't tell me who you were or why he wanted tabs kept on you. All he told me was that you were going to that party last night and I was to take it from there. As you know, I didn't take it very far. In fact, my work for Polvey might be summed up in 3 words. Hired, tired, fired.
Well, thank you for being honest anyway. You're not leaving the money lying there, are you?
Honesty is so rare that it's for free.
You misunderstand me. That money is a retainer.
Retainer? For what?
For watching Mr. Polvey. I am hiring you to find out as much as you can about him.
Where do I report back to?
I shall call at your office every morning at 10. Any other questions, Mr. King?
Only one. Am I crazy or is everybody else?
That is not what I am paying you to find out. You will start on your assignment immediately, of course.
Well, not till around 5 this afternoon.
Why not at once?
Because the quickest, easiest, and best way to find out about Polvey is to trail his platinum blonde secretary.
Oh,
Not to mention the fact that following her will give me something interesting to look at on the way.
Yes. Oh, it's Mr. King.
Hi, beautiful.
What do you want?
Well, since you ask, what are you doing for dinner tonight?
I'm flattered, Mr. King. Don't tell me you came all the way out here just to ask me to dinner.
That's a fact.
And how did you know where I lived?
Simple. I followed you.
Well, in the face of that, what can I say? I have an engagement for dinner tonight, but come in and have a drink anyway, Mr. King.
Just call me Roger, huh? Miss,
Oliver. Marcia Oliver. This way, Roger.
Hey, quite a place you have here, Marcia.
I like it. This is the living room. Will you have a martini?
You don't have to ask me twice.
Try the lounge. I find it very comfortable.
Thanks. Hey, you're right. It is, and big enough for 2.
You're getting a little ahead of yourself, aren't you, Roger? We're only at the drinking stage. Here you are.
Thanks. I drink to a very beautiful girl.
Who am I to call you a liar? Good luck.
You mix a masterly martini.
Oh, thank you. And how's the private detecting business?
Booming. In spite of the brush-up I had from your boss this morning.
Oh, that was too bad. He seemed to be in a very bad temper all day.
Tell me, what do Overseas Enterprises Incorporated do for a living?
Import, export. Fine stuff mostly. Jewelry, antiques and so on, you know. Well, are you ready for another martini?
Thanks. Your version really has a kick in it. I've never had one martini hit me that hard before.
Maybe you've just got a weak head.
Not normally, but right now I feel something like the morning after 2 nights before.
Maybe you'd better not have any more.
Maybe I'd better not. That one seems... just... A Mickey Finn. You gave me a Mickey martini.
I think it's kind of appropriate. Dope for a dope?
You...
Morning, Mr. King. How you feeling?
Awful. Take those panel beaters out of my head. Hey, in this bed, it's moving.
It's not a bed, Mr. King. It's a bunk.
What?
And the reason it's moving is because we're at sea.
At sea?
That's right, Mr. King.
Hey, who are you?
My name's Harris. I'm the skipper of this yacht.
Shanghai. I'm being...
Taken for a little cruise to the Caribbean.
Hey, now wait a minute,
I'm
Harris.
afraid we can't, Mr. King. We've been underway now for some hours.
Well, what's the idea?
Simply that the owner of this yacht feels that 10 days in the Caribbean would do you a lot of good.
Well, who's the owner?
I'm not at liberty to tell you that, I'm afraid.
Hey, but I don't want to spend 10 days in the Caribbean.
I'm sorry about that. But you don't seem to have any choice, do you? Carter Brown, Mysteries. Adventures in excitement and suspense, based on the best-selling novels by the slick storytelling sensation, Carter Brown.
The yacht moved through a heavy swell at a fast clip. My thoughts moved through a heavy head at a feeble crawl. I looked around me. The cabin was fit for a king. But this king's name was Roger. And why Roger King had been drugged and then dragged on board, I hadn't the faintest idea. All I knew was that first I was working for Polvey, trailing Elise and Crease. Then I was working for Elise, trailing Polvey. And in the course of that, Polvey's secretary, Marcia Oliver, fed me a dope martini, and here I was, all set for a cruise to the Caribbean.
Decided to come up for a breath of fresh air, Mr. King.
That's right, Captain Harris, and it feels very fresh.
Yeah, the swell's getting heavier. We look like having some fun. Do you have breakfast?
Yes, thanks. You run a first-rate service for Shanghai passengers.
We do our best.
You don't feel like doing better still and telling me why I'm here and who owns this boat?
I'm sorry, I can't oblige you.
Well, no harm in trying.
Now, Mr. King, I think you'd better go below.
I've had my quota of fresh air, huh?
I'd prefer you in your cabin. I'll have one of the crew conduct you.
Well, if I'm going to be incarcerated for any long periods, do you mind if I borrow one of your bottles to keep me company?
Not at all. There's a good supply in the saloon. You can stop off and pick up some on your way down.
I didn't notice the rest of the day pass, due largely to the bottle, whose contents transferred from it to me made things seem less bewildering. And then it happened. I was flung from the bunk to the floor, the empty bottle still in my hand. I picked myself up and tried the door. It was locked. The engines had stopped. Up above, I heard footsteps running along the deck, and after a while there was silence, except for a single sinister sound, the plash of running water. The cabin tilted to a crazy angle, and I could see the water creeping in under the door, and I was forced to the comfortless conclusion that I'd been left to my fate. And then I was proved wrong.
Well, hi there, sailor. How's the hornpipe?
You're drunk.
That's right, Captain.
Perhaps it's just as well. We hit a reef, Mr. King, Got too close inshore in this fog.
Well, never mind. There are plenty of yachts.
It's bad luck for you, though. If this hadn't happened, you could have enjoyed a 10 days cruise. And then we'd have dumped you someplace. And that would have been it. But as things are now, I'm afraid I'll have to kill you.
Why, you bold, bad boy.
You see, we can't take any risk of you being around on the 18th. That was the whole reason for getting you aboard, to keep you out of the way till after the 18th. Now, well, I'm sorry, King. I'll have to give it to you.
What, another bottle?
No, a bullet.
Oh, you're kidding.
No, I'm not. There's already about a foot of water in here. I'm going to shoot you, and you'll go down with a yacht.
Hey, I think you're really serious.
Perfectly serious. Goodbye, King.
Oh, no. I'll bet you never figured I was such a good shot with an empty bottle.
The bottle I had thrown in desperation had struck Harris just above the temple. If I'd been stone cold sober, I don't think I'd ever have done it. I left him lying there in the water, which was rapidly rising in the cabin, and made my way to the deck. I looked at the reef on which the yacht had struck, then at the waves now pounding hungrily against the sides of the vessel. Suddenly it lurched onto my feet. That told me as plainly as words that it was my time to get off. The reef below didn't look inviting, but it looked safer than the yacht. I swung out over the guardrail and let myself drop. I landed on the rock on all fours, and as I picked myself up and stumbled away from the yacht, there was a harsh, rending sound. I turned to see the yacht slowly turn sideways and disappear. Then I headed towards the end of the reef. I remember staggering across the slippery rock surface, and then the sudden shock of the ice-cold water, and nothing more.
Take it easy now. Come on, drink some more. Not so fast now. Gently, Dusty.
Yeah, what's this? A bed? Blankets? Where am I?
In bed in my cottage, Mr. King. Come on, have a little more of this brandy.
Hey, how'd I get here?
I found you on the beach. You must have made it to the end of the reef and swum the rest of the way.
Don't remember. Only remember the water.
I saw the yacht strike. Then they came down to the beach later. I saw an upturned dinghy out at sea. And then I found you. What about the others?
Don't know.
Well, perhaps you'd better not talk anymore, Mr. King.
Hey, you know my name.
Well, when I stripped off your clothes, I took out your wallet. Naturally, I looked through it. Got cash, all safe, your license, your money, everything. My name was Wallace, by the way. Hugh Wallace.
Well, Mr. Wallace, I guess I owe my life to you. That seems to entitle you to the whole story. And that's it, Mr. Wallace, right up to the time I saw the yacht go under. The rest of it, well, you know.
It's an incredible story. Now, what are you going to do now?
Going back to where I came from. I'm annoyed enough now to want a piece of revenge. And another thing, too. I'm curious about that date Harris mentioned, the 18th. I'd like to find out why I had to be kept away until after that. And what exactly is going to happen on the 18th?
What about the wreck?
I've been thinking about that. You saw an upturned dinghy. Looks as if the rest of the crew must have drowned. I know Harris is dead, and that leaves me the only survivor. I'd like to keep quiet about the wreck for two reasons. One, because to explain Harris's death would be awkward. And two, because with Polvey and his secretary thinking I'm dead, gives me an advantage. But of course, your conscience may insist on reporting the thing, Mr. Wallace. Well, it's up to you. You saved my life, and I won't argue with you on your decision, whatever it may be.
I believe your story, Roger. It's too fantastic to be anything but the truth. And I'm only too happy to keep quiet about the wreck. You see, I'm wanted in 4 states for forgery.
It was good to get home. It was good to roll into my own bed and sleep 18 hours straight. It was close to lunchtime of the next day when I got to my office and found an irate note from my employer, Miss St. Crease. I flicked the telephone dial to the number in her note.
Hello?
Good morning, Elise. Roger King speaking.
Oh,
I got your note. The tone of it seemed rather angry.
With good reason. Where have you been the last 3 days?
Around.
A round is expensive at $200. That is the amount I paid you, remember? I want more than that.
You'll get it. I've been busy. I couldn't wait around my office for you to call.
This had better be good. Otherwise, I shall ask Johnny to call on you and convince you that it is better to produce results.
Johnny?
He was driving my car the other night, remember? Johnny bends iron bars before breakfast, simply because he has to work off his surplus energy.
That ape. If he gets near me, I'm liable to forget I'm trying to be a gentleman and break a chair over his head.
Oh, I'll tell him that. It will worry him for weeks.
Now, look, leaving your playmate Johnny out of the picture for a while, I'm onto something really good.
What is it?
I can't tell you yet, not until I'm really sure.
Mr. King, this begins to sound like stalling to me.
Now, just give me 2 more days. After all, as long as you know before the 18th, it's all right, isn't it?
Very well. I'm prepared to give you 2 more days. But if I don't hear from you by then, you will really be in trouble. That I can guarantee, Mr. King.
So, the 18th means something to you too, baby. The question is, what? And I figure there's only one person who can tell me that. You learn all kinds of handy hints in the private eye profession. One of them is how to use a knife blade to open a window. I thought I had a good half hour before Marcia Oliver got home. More than enough time for a quick look around. And the Platinum Blonde's wardrobe was full of clothes. And if those clothes had been bought out of her salary as a stenographer, then, brother, I was going to take up shorthand and typing. I looked around for a hiding place. The full-length drapes over the living room window seemed to be as good a place as any. I arranged the drapes carefully, leaving myself a crack to see through, took a deep breath, and settled down to wait.
Here we are, honey. I'll get us a drink.
Baby. There's something I need more than liquor. Come here.
Rodney, take it easy.
You're going to tell me you don't like it?
No, honey, but there's no time. You can't stay here more than a minute. Palvy's coming.
Palvy? One of these days I'm going to wring his neck.
After the 18th, you can do it with pleasure, baby. But not before. He's too valuable.
Yeah. Yeah, it makes me sick when I think of that slug and you.
Then don't think of it. It won't be for long now. Come on. Let me give you a drink and get going.
Skip the drink. I'll just have the same again.
Now, you must get out of here, Rodney.
Okay. But I won't be happy till the whole thing's over.
That's the day I'm living for, too, lover.
Goodbye, baby.
Bye.
You could pour one for me, too, Marcia. Only this time you can skip the Mickey Fence.
You're dead.
You mean I should be dead, but I'm not.
How did you get in here?
Through the window. I've been behind the curtains for quite a while.
Well, I don't know what you want here, but Mr. Palvy will be calling very soon.
For his regular visit, huh? Which explains all that expensive clothing you own.
If he finds you here, he'll turn you over to the police.
I don't think so, baby. Not after that little sea trip you arranged for me. You and Polvy, I presume. I think you'd better give me a little information. If you don't, I'll tell Polvy of the pretty little scene I just witnessed between you and dear Rodney. I'm sure he'd love to hear all about it.
What do you want?
For a start, the 18th. That's a date everyone seems to be interested in. What happens then?
I don't know.
Now, baby, don't start with the fairy stories.
Palvy says he's pulling off a big deal then. There'll be a stack of money in it, and I'll get some. That's all I know.
Well, that could be true, I guess. Then why did you slip me that dope martini?
I was scared when you said you followed me home. I thought Palvy's wife might have put you onto me. I wanted to keep you here till I could get in touch with Palvy and ask him what to do.
And he suggested the sea trip?
Yes.
I don't think I believe you, but I can wait. When Polvy comes tonight, find out something definite about the 18th. I'll call back around midnight. You'd better know then, or I'll blow the whole works to Pal Polvy. So it's up to you, baby.
Carter Brown Mysteries. Adventures in excitement and suspense, based on the best-selling novels by the slick storytelling sensation, Carter Brown.
deeper I delved into the setup, the more it made mystery. It was turning out a king-size problem for a private eye called King. My big bewilderment was concerned with the date, the 18th, on which something was supposed to happen, which everyone was worried about in one way or another. But I figured I stood a fair chance of finding out what the 18th meant after the ultimatum I had delivered to Marcia Oliver. I was due to call on her at midnight when I hoped all would be explained. Meantime, I headed for the precinct to pick up my car, which had been impounded from in front of Paulvey's office. After a long explanation to the police about sick relatives and a $20 fine, I got the Dodge back, and then it was close enough to midnight and Marcia.
Oh, it's you.
It's not my twin brother.
You couldn't have a twin brother. There couldn't be two mistakes like you.
You know, Marcia, you're sweet, like cyanide candy.
Cut the compliments and come in.
You phrased the invitation so tenderly, I can't resist.
I'm glad, pal. Just stand nice and still. This is a hair trigger and my finger's twitching. Shut the door, Marcia.
Sure.
We've been waiting for you, pal.
Well, that's nice of you, Rodney.
It's gonna be even nicer. I'm gonna relieve you of your gun. Then your coat will fit better.
That's not my gun. It's my tailor.
I'll have it anyway. I'd hate to put temptation in your path. Yeah, that's better.
You know, Roger, I'm surprised you forgot about Rodney so quickly.
Honey, I'm even more surprised. I must be slipping.
That can happen when a guy gets close to his end.
I've still got a way to go.
Have you?
Well, I thought I had, but I guess I could be wrong.
You certainly could, pal. You know, you're a guy who keeps looking for trouble.
It keeps looking for me.
You should have kept moving south when you got off that yacht. A guy can't be that lucky twice.
I suppose not.
Yeah, you're a problem, pal. But not too big a one for a guy with brains.
Where is he? I don't see him.
Don't get smart, King.
Sorry.
You see, our problem with you is this. While you're still around, you're liable to tell Paulvey things we don't want him to know. He's got a nasty, suspicious mind. So, what are we going to do?
Let's think it over for the next fortnight.
Murder isn't a rap I'd care to risk.
I'm glad to hear you say that.
I'll bet you are.
You haven't heard it all, pal.
I'm listening.
Tell me this. Where does Paulvey think you are now?
Well, I guess he...
That's right, pal. He thinks you're under the water with the rest of the boys who were on his yacht. So maybe you can figure the answer to our problem now, huh?
If it's what I think it is.
You get the prize, pal. All I have to do is put you back where you belong, under the water, and nobody's going to miss you. And if anyone does, that's Paulvey's worry, not mine.
You're forgetting one thing, Rodney. When I took that sea voyage, it was planned very suddenly. So suddenly that I didn't have a chance to shift my car from outside Paulvey's office.
So what?
So the police impounded it after it had been there a couple of days.
I don't get it.
Guess when I paid $20 to get it back?
When?
Exactly 45 minutes ago. So if you knock me off, it's not going to be Paulvey's worry. It's going to be yours. The police know I was alive an hour ago.
You're lying.
Wait a minute, Rodney. He's not. I remember seeing a car driven away from out front of the office. What model is it, Roger?
Blue Dodge, 49 sedan.
Well, that's it. I saw it.
Of all the rotten...
No language in front of the lady.
Rodney, this changes the whole thing. What are we going to do?
I don't know.
Well, I think I do.
Huh?
Let's have another look at this thing. Now that I've proved I'd be a nuisance if you killed me, what about a deal?
Such as?
You tell me what happens on the 18th, and I'll tell you what I know. How about that?
What's your angle, King?
I'm not working for anyone. I decided tonight to resign from my latest employer, so I've just got a large slice of curiosity after Paulvey tried to get rid of me. Whatever's behind it, there must be dough in it. And I'm not the sort of guy to look sideways at a buck. I'm not even ready to quarrel whether it's an honest buck or not.
Oh. Marcia, what do you think?
That might be a proposition, Rodney. That's one sure way of keeping his mouth shut between now and the 18th. And we could use someone else that might make the job easier.
Yeah, you could be right at that. Okay, King, I'm putting the gun away. It's a deal.
Fine. How about a drink to clinch it? I've got a kind of dry feeling.
I'll bet with my gun staring you in the face. Yeah, fix the drinks, baby.
Sure.
That's pretty lucky for you, King. That business about the cops in your car.
Yeah, I guess so.
You'd have been laying around the bottom of the sea without it.
Forget that, Rodney. Here are the drinks.
Thanks. You'll forgive me if I don't wait. Hey, I needed that. Okay, Rodney, suppose you give with the story now.
Sure. Well, first of all, Palvy. Overseas Enterprises Incorporated, his import-export business, is just a sideline. His real work is jewelry. Palvy's one of the finest craftsmen in the world. Well, when anybody's got something really valuable they want altered or fixed, they take it along to Palvy. He's kept his name pretty quiet for obvious reasons.
Of course. He wouldn't want the boys who collect that kind of stuff illegally to get to hear about him.
Next, we come to a dame, the Baroness von Oltz. You ever heard of her, King?
No.
Well, you should have. She owns the Carmel Royne diamond pendant.
I've heard of that.
She bought it for $500,000. They say it's worth more now.
Must be nice to have money.
The Baroness arrived here a couple of days ago. It was in the papers.
I never read the social columns.
You should. Then you might have figured what that date means, the 18th. You see, on the 18th, there's a ball being held in honor of the Baroness von Oltz. Everybody who's anybody in town will be there. And the Baroness will be wearing her pendant.
Daylight breaks through. Correct me if I'm wrong. On the 18th, you aim to snatch the Baroness's pendant.
I'm correcting you. Palvy aims to have it snatched.
What? I may not be the brightest private eye in the business, but that doesn't sound smart to me.
You haven't heard the half of it.
I hope not. To snatch a pendant like that, you have to love it for its own sake. Nobody'd touch it. It'd be too hot.
Sure, you're 100% right.
Well?
Well, it so happens that when the Baroness arrived here, she found the clip on the pendant needed some attention. So who does she send it to?
I'll guess. Palvy?
Palvy, the expert who, luckily enough, lives right here. And Palvy has the pendant for 3 days, with cops and guards sitting all over the joint.
So what? You're getting hard to follow, Rodney.
It'll clear up. Now get this. When Palvy knows he's getting the pendant to work on, he makes an imitation pendant, a pretty good one. Not so good that it'll fool the experts, but good enough to fool the Baroness. When the time comes for him to return the pendant, he's going to return the imitation and hang on to the original.
How does he figure he's going to get away with that? How long does he think it'll take before the Baroness finds out she's got a phony?
That's right. So Palvy is arranging to have the fake pendant snatched at the ball on the 18th.
Oh.
You get it now? He has the fake snatched. Then he waits for the insurance company to offer a reward. It's insured for $300,000. And the insurance company won't think there's anything unusual about the pendant being offered to them through a jeweler. I tell you, this Palvy character has some ideas.
Very neat. So he collects the insurance on the diamond without having to worry about disposing of it, which he couldn't do anyway, seeing it's so well known.
It's really one for the books, isn't it?
You said it, Marcia. But where do you and Rodney come into it?
That's simple. I'm the guy Palvy's paying to do the snatch.
Yeah? Well, that's interesting.
Isn't it?
But not as interesting as the setup between you and Marcia. From what I overheard earlier tonight, neither of you exactly care for Palvy.
You're going to say that again.
So my brilliant mind leaps to the conclusion that maybe you two are planning a little piece of double-cross?
Right on the button, pal. We got it planned rather cutely, even though I say it myself. You see, I'll be at the ball, and so will Palvy. But while we're busy there, Marcia will be paying Palvy's office a visit and collecting the real pendant.
And then?
Then we fade quietly into the wide blue yonder until we can collect from the insurance company.
So that's it, Roger. How do you like it?
It doesn't sound a bad proposition. There's only one thing I don't understand, and that's Elise St. Chris and her boyfriend, Johnny.
Who?
Elise St. What? Who's she?
Marcia, you better pour another drink while I tell you. While they sipped their drinks, I went through the story from the beginning. How Palvy hired me to follow Elise, and how she hired me to follow him, with all the details, right up to where we are now. When I finished, Rodney looked at Marcia, and they both looked at me.
I don't like the sound of that. This St. Chris dame and her sidekick must be after the pendant, too.
You'll have to watch out for them, Rodney.
Don't worry, I'm going to.
We're all going to. What's the situation right now?
Well, today's the 16th. Palvy's due to give the fake pendant to the Baroness tomorrow, the day before the ball.
Uh-huh. So now we just wait till the day after tomorrow.
Yeah.
Well, it seems to me that this Elise St. Chris around, it might be a good idea if I went with Marcia when she collects the real pendant from Palvy's office.
Yeah, it might be at that. I'll think about it and let you know.
Fine. Now, if it's okay with you, I think I need some sleep.
Sure.
Oh, just one thing.
Yeah?
I sleep better with a gun under my pillow. Can I have mine back?
Sure. I'll even hand it to you, but first. After all, we're partners now, aren't we?
The social columns of the papers next morning were full of nothing but the Baroness von Oltz and the coming ball. There was no photograph, but they gave the name of the hotel she was staying at. After coffee, I took a ride over to it. I wanted an interview with the Baroness, but when I climbed out of the elevator, 4 quiet-looking characters moved up to me, and one of them did the talking.
Yes?
I want to speak to the Baroness von Oltz.
What's your business?
I'm Roger King, a private detective. My business is private and urgent.
Sorry, Mr. King, the Baroness is seeing nobody.
I tell you it's important.
We've got our orders. You heard what they are.
But I tell you...
Please, Mr. King, don't make a scene. There's only one of you, and there are 4 of us.
So I see, but... Say, who's that? That woman who just walked out of that door and crossed the hall.
That is the Baroness herself.
It is? Well, in that case, let's forget the whole thing. I'll go.
Something amusing you?
Uh-huh. And it's no good explaining why, except to say that she may be the Baroness von Oltz to you, but to me, she's Elise St. Chris.
Carter Brown, Mysteries. Adventures in excitement and suspense, based on the best-selling novels by the slick storytelling sensation, Carter Brown.
The more I thought about it, the funnier it became. And the laugh was on me, because there was I, Roger King, the smart private eye, itching to tell the Baroness von Oltz that there was a plot to plant her with a fake diamond pendant. And the Baroness was fake herself, or was pretending to be. I couldn't decide which. All I knew was that the Baroness and Elise St. Chris were the same dame. I kicked that intriguing fact around in my head for the rest of that day, and came evening, I was outside Marcia's apartment door again.
Hi.
Hi yourself. Or are you?
Not yet, but I've got the wherewithal waiting. Come on in. I kind of thought you'd be calling tonight.
Well, that's nice. And so is this room. Cozy lights, warm fire.
And I pulled the lounge up in front of it.
For you and Rodney?
Rodney won't be over tonight.
Oh.
I'll pour us a drink. Why don't you relax?
Hey, that's a great idea. I never felt more like relaxing.
Me neither. Here we are.
Thanks.
You don't have to sit as far away as that, do you? Move closer.
Here's to crime.
Here's to our partnership.
What's the setup for tomorrow night?
It's all fixed. The ball starts at 9. You pick me up here about 10. We'll go over to Polvy's office and pick up the pendant. Then we head south and meet Rodney.
Sounds simple enough.
Uh-huh. So we don't have to think about it anymore.
Suits me.
Roger, you're smart. From right outside the whole thing, you picked up even more than Rodney knew. About the St. Chris woman and everything.
Just luck. Private eye has to have some luck sometimes, otherwise it goes broke.
Now you're being modest. You know, it's not fair. You being handsome as well as clever.
Lady, with a line like that, you leave me breathless.
Girl has to watch points. You can't be too careful about choosing a man. I'm ditching Polvy only just in time. And there are moments when I find myself wondering whether Rodney's really smart enough to get by.
Round about now, I think I could move even closer.
I think you could, too.
I picked up Marcia promptly at 10 the next night, the 18th. She had 2 of her suitcases packed, and I put them in the boot of the Dodge, and we drove round to the offices of Overseas Enterprises. Marcia had all the right keys, and as the elevator wasn't working, we used the stairs.
Hold the flashlight up while I find the key.
Sure. It's nice that Polvy trusts you so much.
Yeah, isn't it? Ah, this is it. Well, come on. Let's not waste any time. It's in his office. You can turn on the light now, I think.
Okay. Where does he keep it?
In the safe.
I don't see any safe.
It's a wall model. Behind that picture.
Have you got the key to that?
It's a combination lock. But don't worry. The picture slides up.
Mm-hmm.
Now, 6. No. 6, 2, 7. That's it. And there it is. Oh, look, Roger.
The Carmel Royal pendant. Hey, it's really something, isn't it?
Oh, it's beautiful.
But not real.
Polly!
That's right, Mr. King. Just keep your hands by your sides. This gun and I aren't joking.
Why aren't you at the ball?
Because that pendant's a fake. As big a fake as you, my dear Marcia. It's very funny, isn't it? I hope you both appreciate it. The real pendant turns out to be a fake.
It can't be.
But it is. All the planning, all the double-crossing, for nothing. I took it out tonight for another look at it. And then I noticed something. Something only very few people would have the knowledge or experience to see. It's very pretty, very well made, and worth about $1,500. An expensive phony, but a phony.
Who pulled the switch? The beautiful Elise St. Crease?
I suppose so, though I don't know how she could have done it.
Where does she fit into this picture anyway?
I met her in Europe about 6 months ago. She talked to me in vague terms about the possibility of doing a deal. She didn't mention the name of the Baroness, but the plot was outlined to me. I told her I'd think it over. I did. And when I got back here, I decided there was no good reason for cutting her into the deal. I could handle the whole thing myself.
Sure, why split profits if you don't have to?
Exactly. When the Baroness arrived and I got the job of fixing the clip on the pendant, I realized the Baroness was who Elise St. Crease had been talking about. She called me a day or so later and told me she was over here and what about her deal. I said I wasn't interested. Then she threatened me. That was when I hired you to keep an eye on her.
Uh-huh. The pieces fall into place.
But I didn't think Marcia was planning to double-cross me.
Well, you know how it is, Polvy. One good cross deserves another.
She won't get the chance to try it again. I'm going to kill you, Marcia. And your private eye friend will join you next.
Take it easy, Polvy. That won't get you anywhere. If you cool down, we can still make some dough out of this deal.
What are you talking about?
Did you ever see the Baroness von Holtz?
No.
I'll bet you didn't. She'd take care of that. You see, the Baroness and Elise St. Crease are one and the same.
What?
That's right.
Why would she want to rob herself?
I think I've figured that. Was a cunning caper. Even baronesses can be broke, and I think at one stage she must have been so broke that she sold the pendant. Not in its original form, of course.
It must have been split up. It's too well known to sell any other way.
Yeah, and at the same time I think she had a fake made. The one in your safe right now.
Go on, King.
Then dough gets short again, and she gets another idea. If her pendant should be stolen, she could claim the insurance money. But if it is stolen, she has to make sure it doesn't turn up again, because it's a fake.
Yes, I'm beginning to see it.
Sure. She puts up the scheme to you that she should be robbed of a fake pendant at the ball, the one you would supply while you kept the one you thought was real. She knows the fake one stolen from her will be destroyed, and the original will be returned by you to the insurance company. But here's where you get the big laugh. When you return what you think is the original, Elise, or the Baroness, whichever you prefer, has a look at it and yells fake. The insurance people check up. They find it is a fake. And that means the Baroness collects the insurance dough, and you're left without even a fake pendant.
I don't believe it.
Can you make the facts fit any other way?
Of course not. You're right, Roger.
That was why the Baroness couldn't be known as the Baroness to you. That's why she took the name of Elise St. Crease.
Well, all that dirty double-crossing...
Polvy, that doesn't really come well from you. She was just too smart for you.
And how do you think we can make money out of it now?
We should like to know that, too.
What?
Watch him, Johnny.
I am. You fooled me. I'll...
I am afraid poor Mr. Polvey will do nothing any more.
Very stupid of any man to try shooting at a man who is behind him.
Marcia, I'd better introduce you. This is the lady we were talking about, Elise St. Crease, alias the Baroness. And the gentleman is named Johnny, alias, I presume, the Baron.
So, you worked that out too, Mr. King.
It just came to me like a flash.
Oh, you have more brains than we credited you with.
Like the late Mr. Polvey, he did too. We picked him as a so-called expert who wouldn't notice the fake. But he was a better craftsman than we thought. How did you get here?
We noticed Mr. Palsy had left the ball. We thought it might be wise to follow his example.
Johnny, you're wasting time.
Yes, of course, my dear. We're going for a ride, Mr. King. And I'm going to enjoy our farewell. Though I'm afraid I can't say the same for you.
Drop that gun.
What in
Drop
the...
it, pal. That's better. I always feel safer when I'm the only guy with a gun.
Well, well, well. Just like a daisy chain, isn't it? Polvy holds us up, then the Baron holds Polvy up. And now little Rodney holds the Baron up.
Oh, Rodney, I'm so glad you came.
Are you? I wonder. I just got an idea in my head that maybe you and King were trying a little funny stuff. Stay where you are, King.
It's okay, Rodney. I just want to grab this gun.
Get them, Johnny!
Oh, no, don't try it, Baron. Freeze. I'm just aching for an excuse to let you both have it. Marcia,
Yes, Roger.
go downstairs and call the cops. Wait till they arrive and then bring them up. Tell them I'm here with the Baron and his wife, and we've discovered they stole the pendant. Tell them you're Polvy's secretary and that I was working for Polvy, and he's been murdered. Got it?
Yes, Roger. I've got it. I'll be as quick as I can.
Well, that's as nice and cozy now, isn't it? You know, Johnny, I never liked you from the off. From that time you hit me over the head when I wasn't looking.
I assure you the feeling is mutual.
But I don't think you've got any nerve at all. Behind that tough front, I think there's only a watermelon.
Big talk when you have two guns, mine and your own.
We'll see. Elise, come here.
Yes?
Here's your husband's gun. Take it by the barrel and walk backwards toward him. If you try to turn, I'll shoot.
Very well.
Now, we'll see who's the better man, Johnny. When she gives you the gun, Elise can count to 3, and then we'll fire.
You are going to fight a duel with me?
Unless you're too scared.
That I have never been accused of.
Okay. Hand him the gun. Now start counting, honey.
1,
Make your last wish, King, quickly.
2, 3. You hit him, Johnny! You hit him!
But not so badly as he hit me.
Don't go for his gun, Elise. It's only my shoulder that's got a slug in it. I can still pull a trigger. You've been a sucker, Baron.
How?
There was only one thing wrong with the setup. When the cops turn up, I could explain Rodney's death. He could be one of Polvy's assistants who turned up because he wanted to rescue us from you. But the trouble was that though he was shot with your gun, Johnny, it had my fingerprints on it. Now it has yours.
Why, you...
We shall tell the police the truth.
And who do you think they'll believe? They're coming now. Smile, suckers.
This is Carter Brown. You've got to hand it to Roger King, haven't you? He may have been befogged in the beginning, but he came in fine at the finish. I couldn't let him do anything else, could I? He's a hero. My next book's got a different kind of leading character, Richard Van Bryden III. I've called his saga Malice for a Multimillionaire because that's what he is. So this is Carter Brown saying so long for now. Be seeing you.
In Crime for a King, you heard our star Terry McDermott as Roger King. The Carter Brown Mystery Theatre, based on the best-selling novels by Carter Brown, is dramatized and directed by Maurice Travers for Grace Gibson Radio Productions.